Hi everyone, welcome to The Film Whisperers on Bent TV, a show where two movie nerds talk about all things movies through a contemporary lens. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Saj.
So Saj, we have recently spoken about our favourite performances by an actress in movies, like across the time, like movies that we watched when we were younger that really were made by the performances in them. Like it was less about the movie itself and more about the women who just played these captivating characters and did it really well. So naturally, I feel like we should flip the coin and look at some of the performances that we thought maybe weren't that great. Yeah, which is maybe...
I feel really bad doing this because, we should be, as feminists, we should be talking positive stuff. Yeah.
Let me put this little kind of caveat that like, even though these act performances that we're talking about weren't great, I'm sure there was still like, look, at the end of the day, these actresses were getting paid good money,
yes,
like they were living a life, building their careers,
yes,
so
yes.
It was good for them.
Yeah.
Even though, well, maybe not always, but yeah, so love the actresses. The movies have some redeeming qualities, but the performances themselves were shaky. Yeah. Do you have like one that you're, this is, yeah.
Yes, I do. No disrespect to Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. However,
yeah.
I think it was 2015, she did this film called The Boy Next Door.
So I actually have heard of it. I haven't seen it. Was it actually out of the movies or was it like just like a straight to TV movie?
I think it was at the movies.
Okay.
And it's a story about this woman who is meant to be in her mid-40s. She's divorced. She moves to this new neighborhood and she's attracted to her neighbor.
Yeah.
And the neighbor is a psychopath, and then what happens afterwards is just whatever. It's just the
did
film.
J-Lo make you feel like what she was feeling in the movie? Like was she?
Well, let's just say that the performance was meant to be quite scary. It was meant to be you're actually meant to feel her lack of safety, and I just laughed the entire way through.
Okay.
And so did my partner. We both watched it together, and we just thought, oh my god, this is absolutely terrible. Now, J-Lo has had a history of making films that haven't been the best.
She's been in like a lot of... I feel like one day I was looking through her filmography. I feel like she's been in a lot of movies, like heaps.
She has,
yeah
she has. I mean, there has been a fair chunk of films that she has done that has been critically acclaimed. So Selena, for example, she did Out of Sight, which was again, that really established her as an actress. Somewhere along the way, I don't know what happened, but the quality of her work just started to decline a bit. Maybe it was the male directors that gave her guidance. I don't know what it was, but I think The Boy Next Door was certainly probably the biggest low point.
Yeah. Interestingly, I actually haven't seen Out of Sight, and for me, I always thought like, oh yeah, Selena was supposed to be like one of her really good roles that started her into getting into acting.
Yeah.
But since then, my assumption was that all the movies since have kind of been just kind of average. Like her performances aren't really that great, and so I was always thinking like, it's so amazing that someone who just consistently puts out like average work gets so much work in movies because like she's in so many films.
I think it's because some of those films make a lot of money.
Right.
It definitely does draw the Latinx crowd to the cinemas, and I would say she definitely did have a huge impact to the Latinx community, especially in the early 2000s, because they did cast in a lot of romantic comedies, and at the time it was unheard of to see a woman of color in these films. With Matthew McConaughey, for example, it was The Wedding Planner, Made in Manhattan. These were they're average movies, but they made a lot of money because I'm guessing here, but it definitely did draw that community to the cinemas, which
totally. In that period of time, I feel like rom-coms were like all the thing. Like everyone was watching them, and so like even though the movies themselves might be average, like there was a big audience for them, like you were saying. So it's like getting someone like a pop star like J-Lo who already has a fan base, like and putting her as the lead actress, like even if the performance isn't that great, like people are gonna watch it.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, no offense to J-Lo, but The Boy Next Door. But anyway, enough about that. Do you have one?
I'm kind of following the theme here of like pop stars turned actors, which I mean, but I will say first, before I say who this performer is, the movie itself I actually really enjoy because it's not that great. Like it's really cheesy and camp and fun. But Mariah Carey's performance in Glitter.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The performance is obviously really bad, and I mean, I'm
bad.
Sure,
okay.
What would you say?
Come on, it was terrible.
Okay, it was terrible. It was terrible. But I was like, I don't know. I kind of ate it up. Like, no, the performance is bad, but the movie I ate up because like it's just very cliche. Like about like this person who has an amazing voice gets discovered and then like is shot up to superstardom.
Billy, right?
Billy. That's right. The soundtrack is amazing, obviously, with Mariah Carey's vocals. I think it's very like retro, a lot of disco kind of songs. But the performance itself is really bad, and so it was a shame because like as a big Mariah fan, that film kind of ended up being the catalyst for like a period where she kind of had a bit of a breakdown and went through a lot of things.
So, okay, actually, I'm being harsh on her. Now, we both read her biography, and I think it's quite unfair of us to judge her on that film because we all know the story behind that film and why it was so terrible and why she was so terrible because her husband at the time had creative control over what was happening on set. So apparently he definitely sabotaged her chances of becoming a serious actress, and the movie ended up being the movie it was because he wanted to destroy it.
And interestingly, the lead single, like the main song off the soundtrack, originally actually it sounded very different, but that manager took the sample that song used and gave it to J-Lo. So it's interesting. There's a lot of web of a lot of politics involved, but yeah, I actually do really like the movie, but I have to say like it's one of the worst performances I've ever seen. Like, sorry Mariah, but like it was quite bad.
Is there any others? Like, do we have an honorable mention?
All of my honorable mentions are like all these kind of camp movies, and like I still actually enjoy the movies themselves, like Showgirls and Mummy Dearest. But I think everyone kind of collectively understands that the performances are not good. So like Faye Dunaway and Mummy Dearest, I mean that kind of was the beginning of the end for her career, I think, because it was such a bad performance. And then Elizabeth Berkley, who was in Saved by the Bell, then going on to do this like mature movie like Showgirls, where she's like, I'm breaking free of this like young persona, like I'm going to be an adult and do this like highly sexual role. But the acting was just really bad. Like, have you seen both or either?
I've seen both.
Yeah, like it's just super overacted and like just not. Yeah.
I didn't really think Mummy Dearest was that bad. I guess you see Joan Crawford and apparently the way she was at the time, that over the top persona, apparently, that was
true to life.
So, but I think what I didn't like with Mummy Dearest was it was just the scenes, the violence, it was quite intense. But with Showgirls, I think that was just bad. Like that was pretty terrible. And I think that the 90s. Because after Showgirls, I was thinking about performances. Have you seen Striptease with Demi?
I actually haven't. I know of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Because I think that there was a time in the 90s where stripper films was a thing.
It was a thing. It was a theme. Yeah.
I mean, Demi Moore was pretty terrible in Striptease. It was and I don't know why they didn't learn their lesson from Showgirls and go, we probably should not be making more films of the genre. But anyway, so. Is there any other films that we can think of that have...
Do you have any other honorable mentions? Mine are all these camp ones. Like I think like Glitter, Showgirls, Mummy Dearest. Like when I'm trying to recall like really bad ones, those ones that stick in my mind. But that's also part of the reason I enjoy the movies. That's why like we're not disrespecting the performances. Like I get like kind of pleasure from watching kind of cheesy B-grade movies, but the performances like objectively are not good.
Okay, I can't think of any at this stage, but except for because that J-Lo was pretty. Yeah, so J-Lo and Mariah, they should do a film together.
Oh my gosh, that would never happen. Mariah's would do it. J-Lo might do it. I don't think Mariah would ever do it.
Anyway, well, that's all we have time for today. You've been watching The Film Whisperers on Ben TV.